Okay. Let me bring this a little closer. Hope you guys can hear it. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a 2-month wrap up. I'm not going to wrap up everything. I'm just going to talk about some of the books I really enjoyed or just really want to talk about over June and July. And then we're going to do a little bit of an August TBR. So this is the TBR stack. Am I going to get through all of them? Definitely not, but we're gonna try. So let's get into a little bit of a wrap up here for the last 2 months. So I've read 3 Robert McCammon books in the last 2 months. In June, I reread Boy's Life, and this is my new definitive favorite book ever. This is the only book that has ever broken the 100 point scale. I gave this a 120 out of 100. It is a coming of age murder mystery. The murder mystery is there, and it kind of connects all of the chapters that are kind of like vignettes, each telling their own story. But the murder mystery is not like the main, focus of the book. He tells you right in, I believe it's the prologue. I don't think it's chapter 1. Right in the prologue, that this book is about the magic of childhood, and that when you're an adult, you kind of lose that magic. And writing this, because it's from the retrospective perspective of an author, Corey Mackinson. So he tells you that this book is, going to be about finding the magic again. And it really is. It is so beautiful. Every chapter just has like some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever read. Made me tear up multiple times. The ending is beautiful. It's just the best book I've ever read. If you haven't read this, please read this book. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't read it. So, just keep that in mind. I also read book 3 of the Matthew Corbett series. This is Mr. Slaughter. This is my least favorite of the first 4 now. So books 1 and 2 definitely have a more main mystery, and that I really enjoy that. And this is more of like a chase thriller. And I still thought it was good. I still gave it like 4 stars. But it just didn't hit the same highs that I had come to expect from the first 2 books. I will say though that Tyranthus Slaughter, the main villain in this one, Mr. Slaughter, has such aura, like it's insane. Definitely jumps off the page, and you should read it just for that. It's not very long. It's only like 430 pages or something like that. And the good thing about this book is that the book after it, The Providence Rider, which I don't have in a physical format because, the hardcovers are published by Subterranean Press and they're hard to find. The Providence Rider was back to that like almost 5-star level that I had come to expect, and it was really, really good. It has made me realize that as much as I like Matthew, he's not my favorite character. Barry Grigsby is easily my favorite character. She's awesome, and she hasn't even played a big part in the series yet. But she's just awesome. Providence Rider, amazing. The setting that it takes place in really feels real, and it feels different than everything else we've experienced up to that point. So I'm really looking forward to the next book, which I should be reading or listening to in August. It's pretty short. I think it's called The River of Souls. I think that's the next one. Dope ass name. Super excited for that. Robert McCammon, once again, quickly going up my list of favorite authors. If you guys haven't read any Robert McCammon, please check him out. Start with Boy's Life, start with Swan Song, start with the Matthew Corbett series. You will not regret it. So, as I've said, with those books, I have been on my mysteries and thrillers era, arc, whatever you want to call it, depending on if you're a Taylor Swift fan or not. I read Mr. Griver by Dennis Lehane in June. Yeah. This book, really, really good. I have not seen the movie yet. When I started this book, I was like, man, this really reminds me of Stephen King. And come to find out, this guy and Stephen King, pretty good buddies, it seems like. And they're big fans of each other. Dennis Lehane has actually written on multiple Stephen King adaptations, TV shows. I think he wrote on Mr. Mercedes and The Outsider. I think he's also worked on The Wire and just a lot of stuff. And he also writes really, really good books. So this is super thematically heavy of dealing with like generational trauma and grief and all of these things. And it is so good, very heart-wrenching and beautiful at the same time. And it is this is like upper echelon as far as mysteries go, from what I can tell. So yeah, Mr. Griver, Dennis Lehane, check it out. Watch the movie. I believe was directed by Clint Eastwood. Really, really good stuff. Now, this author here, Greg Iles. This is actually book 2 following his Pen Cage character. I read both books 1 and 2 in June. Book 1 is The Quiet Game, which I thought was really good. Book 2 is Turning Angel, which I thought was good, but I have some definite problems with. So book 1, The Quiet Game, and these aren't, you don't have to like read them in order. I guess you can read them completely as standalones if you wanted to, except books 4, 5, and 6 are like a full trilogy. But yeah, book 1, The Quiet Game, was really a good introduction to the character of Pen Cage. I got attached quickly to him and the character Caitlin Marsters, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And the surrounding characters, Pen Cage's dad, I think his name's Tom. Just got attached to them really quickly, and it deals with some really heavy stuff as far as the civil rights movement in the 60s down south goes. These books take place in Natchez, Mississippi. So it deals with a lot of that, and the racial divide in the South. So it gets heavy. I think he does it mostly pretty well. I'm saying a lot, my bad. But yeah, book 1, The Quiet Game, really good. Deals with a lot of heavy stuff. The mystery is good, and it gets a lot bigger in scope than I ever would have expected. So definitely check out The Quiet Game. Greg Iles has been like compared to William Faulkner, like a modern day mystery writer, William Faulkner. So if you're into that, definitely check it out. Book 2 though, Turning Angel, the book is good. The mystery is good. However, one thing I cannot overlook is this book deals with, and I'm just gonna put it out there, because it happens you're told very early in the story. There is a 41-year-old doctor, and his 17-year-old girlfriend, high school student girlfriend, has been killed. Yeah, and of course everyone's like, bro, what the fuck, you're dating a 17-year-old, you are gross and probably deserve to die. But it doesn't stay that way. Of course, people keep coming after him, and it almost feels like Penn Cage, the main character, is kind of like, well, maybe it's bad, but maybe it's not so bad because, I got this 18-year-old, still high school student babysitter for my little daughter, and I can see where my friend is coming from here. And I wasn't really vibing with that, so I definitely had to knock quite a few points off of this book for that. I hope that shit doesn't come up in any of the other books, because I like the books, but I absolutely cannot get behind that. So I would recommend these books, but I'd say if you don't want to read that shit, which is totally understandable, just skip this one. Like, you're not gonna miss anything too ridiculous. Just skip it if you don't want to deal with that. Let's go to my other mystery book here that I just recently finished yesterday, 2 days ago. The River We Remember by William Kent Krueger. This is my third William Kent Krueger book. You guys will know Ordinary Grace was my first one. Coming of age murder mystery. Clearly, I really like those kind of books. It was amazing. I get easy 5-star. Just a beautiful book. Big on religion and childhood and just all of that stuff. These deal with Krueger really likes to put the racial divide between the Sioux Native Americans and the white people in Minnesota. This book is no different. This one takes place in, I think, the 50s or the 60s. Ordinary Grace took place in the 50s or 60s. This has a little bit of a coming of age, but it's more about the town surrounding all of these characters and kind of the mystery, but mostly like the town and these characters. And this book, beautiful stuff. I know I've said that like about a couple of these books now, but I am finding that like literary mysteries, excuse me, literally every time I record a video I start burping. But yeah, literary mysteries that are bigger on the themes and the characters more so than the mystery, I'm finding I really, really jive with. And this is no exception. William Kent Krueger, Ordinary Grace, River We Remember. Check either of them out. You won't regret it. This Tender Land I liked, but doesn't really hold a candle to either of those ones. So yeah, check this book out. Okay. 2 more rereads to get through on this little wrap up, and then we will get into the TBR. So I reread Stephen King's It. Alright. Many of you will know this was my favorite book ever before I recently reread Boy's Life. And I reread this because I reread Boy's Life, and I was like, Boy's Life might be my favorite book ever. So I had to reread it to make sure that, it didn't reclaim its spot. So, did I like it as much? Third time reading this one. The answer is no. It does go down a little points. It is no longer a perfect 100 out of 100 book for me. So I reread this a couple years ago. I first read it when I was 16. I reread it a couple years ago when I was 19, 20, something like that. And I know it sounds silly. I'm coming up on 23. You guys are gonna be like, oh, you're still a kid, all that jazz. But I feel like between my first read and my second read, I grew a lot as a person, and I've grown even more between my second read and now. And I did get a lot of different things out of this book my third time through than I did the first time. Of course, the coming of age stuff is good. The children's stuff, still by far my favorite in the book. And I really thought that, I was connected to the adult versions of these characters much more this third time around. than I was the first two reads. So why did my, enjoyment or my feelings go down a little bit? There's some tough stuff to read in this book, and I'm not like a person that's like, ooh, I don't get triggered easily, but man, there's some rough shit in this book, and it really made me realize maybe I should not just be like widely recommending this to everyone. In the first 50 pages of this book, you get a child murder, a gay hate crime, and then a character inner monologuing about how she was bullied for being Jewish in school and how she's nothing but a dirty Jew and all of that stuff. And I was reading it and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is some tough shit to read about, like right off the rip. He lets you know, I mean, to be fair, he lets you know you were getting into some shit with this book. And then it kind of just gets worse. There's some real heavy racial stuff in this book. Of course, it takes place in 1958 and 1985, but most of the racial stuff is, in the past, in 58. But yeah, there's some tough stuff. There's also, that one weird scene at the end with the 11 and 12-year-olds running the train on a character. Everyone knows what it is. If I spoiled that for you, I'm sorry. But I feel like people should know, maybe before they go into the book. Yes, it is abhorrent and absolutely should not be in the book. I don't agree with people that say there's no reason for it, because Beverly clearly says, like in her thoughts during it, that it's a triumph over their fears and over her father and all of that stuff, and it's like kind of like a loss of innocence thing. So there's a reason or an explanation for it. Shouldn't be in the book either way, but I'm gonna be honest, I skipped it the second time. I read it this time maybe to see if there was something I was missing, and I guess it was kind of there. I'm gonna skip it every other time I read this book, and you could definitely skip it if you read this book. So yeah, so I still love the book, but there's some glaring issues that people should be aware of if they want to read this book. And that's not even mentioning Patrick Hockstetter, which is a whole other level of fucked up. I will say though, the dairy interludes, which are like giving backstory and history to Derry as a place, really awesome. Those are some of my favorite sections of this book, and I think if you wanted to, you could literally just read those sections and call it a good book. I wouldn't recommend that, but if you wanted to sample it a little bit before you get into the real book, I would say that's perfectly fine to do. So good book, glaring issues, but still a good book. And I reread House of Chains by Steven Erikson. This is book 4 of the Malazon Book of the Fallen. This is my favorite Malazon book of the first 4. Anyone that says it's boring is wrong. I will take no argument. Funnily enough, the first book, which I believe is like 260-ish pages, that is all Karsa Orlong, easily my least favorite section of this book. Not a popular opinion, but it is my opinion. It's still really good though, and the rest of this book is straight gas. This introduces almost all of my favorite characters outside. Actually, I'm not going to say that because that's a spoiler. But yeah, this has a bunch of my favorite characters. This introduces the... What is the fucking... One second. The Ninth Army? Ninth Company. This introduces the Ninth Company. Every single one of them. Absolute bangers. Yeah. House of Chains. Brilliant stuff. I love Malazon. It is my favorite series ever. There's no competition. So yeah. Into the August TBR. I have fucking yapped far too long. But let's get into it. Currently reading, bang, Mad Ship, Infuriated Seafaring Vessel, by Robin Hobb. This is book 2 of Liveship Traders, book 5 of, Realm of the Elderlings, all that jazz. I am liking this significantly more than, what's the first book? Ship of Magic so far. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I like Althea. Yeah, Ship of Magic good. I'm about 300-ish pages in. I also got this cool little bookmark with the ship on it, so I figured I definitely needed to use that one. Mad Ship, so far so good. That is about the best compliment I can give Robin Hobb. The other book I am reading currently is The Devil's Punch Bowl by Greg Iles. This is the third book in the Pen Cage series that can all be read as standalones. So far, good stuff. I am on chapter 6. I'm only like 60 pages through. So far, really good stuff. I am reading this one physically, whereas I listened to the audiobooks for the first two, because the audiobook for this is just the most ass quality ever. I don't know what they were doing, but the guy that produced that or mixed and mastered it or whatever took the bass knob and just cranked it all the way up so it sounds like, he is God talking down from the heavens, and you can't understand anything. So yeah, Greg Iles, Devil's Punch Bowl is a good stuff so far, and it is a pretty beefy one. It's over 700 pages, so I hope I can get all of this done, because this is not going to be like my main read, I don't think, ever through the month. So hopefully I can get it done. Hello and welcome back. I recorded this part once and I just found out that I had no audio in the last like 8 minutes of the video. So I'm gonna re-record it. And I got 3 more books to talk about here on my August TBR. The first one is going to be This River Awakens by Steven Erikson. This is pre-Malazon, takes place in Canada. This is a coming-of-age murder mystery. Obviously, I like those a lot, so I'm expecting this to be a slam dunk for me. A lot of the reviews on this are like not good at all, or just singing its praises. I've seen that it's exceptionally beautiful, thematically rich, go figure, gut-wrenching and dark and hopeful and all of those things. So this should be a book I really, really jive with. So This River Awakens. I don't know if I'm actually gonna get to this one, but I'm gonna give it a try. There's no audiobook for this, so I have to read it with my eyeballs. The other one is, of course, continuing Malazon, Book of the Fallen. This is Midnight Tides, Book 5. I'm so ready to be back on the continent of Lether with my boys, Tehol and Bug, and the Bedek brothers, and the Sengar brothers, and, my main man, Ublala, going to be hung like Pung. Shurkalal is in this book. So many great characters introduced in this one. Kind of a prequel. Takes place even before Gardens of the Moon. But yeah, it's a complete reset. This is kind of Troll telling Onrak his story, from the end of House of Chains. I am really looking forward to rereading this one and seeing what I get out of it. And the last book I have, I will probably be doing this physical also, because the audiobook was recorded in like the early 90s or something, and it sounds like straight garbage. I've read one of this author's books before, way back in 6th grade, although I don't think he actually wrote it, because there was like a co-author whose name was much smaller on the cover. That guy probably did most of the work. But this is Without Remorse. This is the first book for John Clark. I think John Clark has 2 books, which is Without Remorse and Rainbow Six. This book is chronologically the first one that goes between John Clark and Jack Ryan. So I'm going to start here. I don't think you have to read these in order, but this is just the one I'm going to start with anyway. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I hope I like it, because I've had so many Tom Clancy books for so many years, and I've only read the one, and I probably didn't even understand like 90% of it when I read it. So I'm looking forward to getting back into this. From what I understand, it is like political spy thrillers. This is definitely part of the American propaganda machine during, the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. So we're gonna see he's sold a lot of copies, got a lot of movies of his books, a lot of video games, like Rainbow Six Siege and Splinter Cell and The Division and all of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's pretty long. It's like almost, I think it's like 640 pages. So we're gonna give this a go. And yeah, that's all I got for August right there. So let me know down in the comments what you plan on reading in August. Make sure to like the video and subscribe and do all of that stuff, and I will see you next time. Peace out.